and welcome to our inaugural episode of the Flow podcast, where we're going to dig into all things AI, MCP, and agents. I'm joined today by my co-host, Carter Rabassa. Hello, Carter.
Hello.
I should also say that I'm David Jones-Gilardi. I'm a Gen AI nerd here with all of you today. And
Wait, hold on, David.
yeah,
So, like,
go on.
before we go any farther, is this really happening? Are we actually creating like yet another AI podcast?
I mean, it looks like it. It sure looks like it.
I think we kind of owe people an explanation, like why we were doing this.
Okay, well,
Um,
what do you think? I'm gonna totally lob that to you. Why are we creating another AI podcast, Carter?
that's a really good question. So there are a lot of great podcasts out there. Lately, there are a ton of AI podcasts,
Yeah.
many of which I subscribe to and listen to and really enjoy. I think David and I we're talking about though where a lot of the podcasts, for reasons that sort of make sense, there's AI and hype are kind of like inextricably linked,
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's kind of hard to talk about AI without getting like lost in like these really intense hype cycles. Um, I often, the minute I'm listening to an AI podcast and the topic of AGI comes up,
Hmm.
like as a developer and an engineer, like my brain starts to turn off because come on, I mean, like, are we ever going to achieve AGI? Maybe. Like, how do you define it? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to build web applications and
Yeah.
software, so it doesn't feel super relevant to me. So I think what all of you can expect, if you kind of listen to us and smash that subscribe button, is that we want to create a forum to talk to people that are building in the AI space, and actually like building applications, building developer tools that you all can use to build applications, and just have like really like pragmatic conversations, hopefully with code, right?
Right.
Hopefully we're not like waving our hands around, but we're actually like kind of digging into the code, digging into the tools, for so that you all can get a sense of like what's possible today, not what's possible like in 5 years, or like not what's possible if you happen to have a machine learning team of 50 plus, but like what can you as maybe just a full stack developer do today with
Right. What can you do
AI
right now? Yeah.
and with AI tools. So yeah, I don't know. I hope that sounds like something that folks kind of want to hear more of. But yeah, that's kind of that's what we're going to promise if you listen to the flow. So
Awesome.
yeah.
All right. So with that, just a quick bit of housekeeping for those of you who are joining us live right now. I'm going to pop up a little CTA right there. If you want to join us live to interact and chat with us and that kind of deal, that link will bring you down to our Langflow Discord live streams channel, right? So it'll bring you right to the live stream channel where you can ask questions and interact and such. And I think with that, should we get into some content? I feel like we should get in like some
I think
content with our friend
for
Eyal
sure.
here from Tavily.
Sure. Well, for sure. So obviously we're being joined by Eyal, who is dialing. By the way, this is we're doing this live. But for those of you who are listening to this, on your iPhone at the gym, don't worry about joining the Discord. That
Yeah.
time will have passed. But
I
yeah,
mean,
but
join it
Eyal.
if you want. We'll still chat with you, but
Yeah, Eyal is joining us from Israel, where he's based. So I think we're going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Eyal,
Yeah,
where you can
thank you.
kind of introduce yourself a little bit, and then of course tell everybody a little bit more about Tavily.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I'm excited to be here, guys. Like you said, like an AI, a podcast that uh, was built for engineers to get like the best piece of AI at the moment is a great podcast and what we need. So I'm Eyal. I'm based in Israel, Tel Aviv. I've been involved in the data and AI space throughout the last couple of years, from bottom-up analytics to engineering to research, and I've done a lot of AI and data roles. And right now I'm leading data and AI at Tavily. So yeah, we can go ahead and introduce Tavily a bit. Carter, what do you say?
Yeah, we can, but I want to dig deeper. Like when this is kind of an interesting question that I like to ask people. Like what was your first exposure to actually like building with AI? Like, do you remember that moment? Do you remember like when it was? It might have been before you joined Tavily. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious like what your moment was.
Yeah, for sure. I think the moment was like a bit pre GPT and all of the
Oh,
explosion, the AI explosion. I
Okay.
did a research project in my university with MIT, and we explored tackling misconceptions in a coding and a no coding environment, and we tried to do it with embeddings. So we took the code and we turned it into embeddings and tried to look for anomalies. And I think that was the moment, like I said, whoa, we can really do things with AI and with these models. And from there, the rest is history. I was hooked, and AI continued to boom. So I'd say that was the moment for me.
well, wait, what like roughly what year was that? You said pre-GPT. I mean, is that
Yeah,
like 2022
around
or
2020,
something?
2021, 2020,
Wow.
something like that.
Oh
I
man,
feel
dude,
so far along, so far away now.
you're
Yeah,
you're an OG.
Right?
This is amazing. Well, I mean, David, do you remember the first time that you kind of played with something that you would kind of consider to be AI?
Oh yeah, I mean, just a tiny bit before the ChatGPT explosion, right? But nothing compared to once all that landed, it was just such a game changer, right? And what you could do with it. So I would say mine is just slightly before OpenAI kind of went public with everything.
Nice, awesome. Well, I'm the late adopter. I'm the person that was convinced that AI was just like the new crypto, and just
Ah,
like the latest hype cycle for VCs to kind of like funnel money into, and and by the way, like I don't mind saying that, like I'm wrong all the time, but like sometimes I'm right. But I definitely was wrong on that, and I've been playing catch up ever since. But cool. Well, so Al, like, yeah, tell us about Tivoli. Obviously, David and I have played with it a lot. It's super cool, but like,
yeah.
let's assume that folks who are listening just haven't heard of it or haven't checked it out yet. So, what do they need to know?
Yeah. So Tavily, in a sentence, is the web infrastructure layers for AI agents, and our mission is to onboard the next billion agents to the web. So, like you said, Carter, this whole boom, this whole hype, we have new entities that are roaming the web, which are agents. And Tavily is like a one-stop shop for any web interaction that you need. So that's our mission. That's what we do, and we operate in this space. And yeah, it's a very powerful tool when used correctly. And I'm down to show today how to use it.
Okay. Oh, sure. Well, look, we're gonna have 100 questions, but yeah, if you wanna just go ahead and dive into it, we can start showing folks what it looks like. Now, obviously, if you're listening to this on your AirPods or with the video off, we'll do our best to narrate what Eyal is showing.
Mhm.
But this podcast and certainly this live stream is best consumed in video mode. So this is a good time to pop open the video, because we're going to be and on this episode and on all episodes, like we're going to be really diving into the tools themselves, and showing developers how to use them. So
Wait, Carter, you don't want to read out every line of code that I was going to show on a screen? I thought we were going to totally go like all voice mode agent on this and just
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I think we're gonna find a happy medium.
yeah.
Like I'll do a little bit of narration,
Mhm.
but for the most part, if you have the ability, just click the video button, and you can kind of see for yourself.
Okay,
Awesome.
great, guys. I think we should first show like the example in Langflow itself, because it'll be a bit more abstract, and maybe it'll be a better, first dive into Tavily. So I'll share my screen,
Okay.
and we can
Cool.
go on from there.
Now, by the
Okay.
way, while Al is bringing up his screen and he's going to bring up Langflow here, I think we should probably very quickly, for those who are not familiar with Langflow and not looking give a quick kind of one-liner what that is. So if you see the screen now, Langflow is a visual IDE that allows you to very quickly build out Gen AI and agentic workflows in a low-code, no-code way, like a drag-and-drop way. So you're going to see Eyal do some of this right now. And anyway, I just wanted to get that out there for those who are listening who may not know what that means.
Yeah. So thank you, David. So like we said, like we have these new entities which are agents that are roaming the web, and we want to give them a tool that can actually help them search the web and get answers and good grounded answers. So I think the best way to first show is just to do a quick demo. So let's just say I bring up a new chat here and ask what is Langflow. So like an LLM might know the answer, but once it uses the tool, it can really get grounded answers from the web. And I think we also get some links here that our system gets the agent. So I guess that's
Okay.
like, yeah, Carter.
Yeah. Sorry. So I'm just gonna. This is maybe a little bit of my narration. So we've got a visual tool that we're using to build an agent, right? So there's a component there in the middle. You could probably zoom in on it a little bit if you wanted to, Eyal. So this is the agent component. Langflow has a native component called agent, and it's what you use to build agents. And you can build a single agent application. You can also build multi-agent applications where agents are wired to other agents. But in this case, agents are relatively simple. You wire them up to a model provider of your choice. So in this case, you chose OpenAI, and you chose, of course. And there's like there's all the major options. You wired it up to a particular model, in this case 4.0, which is like a totally reasonable baseline. And of course, you configured it with your OpenAI key. And then, and I guess like what people can kind of argue about, like what's an agent, and like like what's the definition of agents. Langflow has like a pretty like clear definition of an agent, where an agent is effectively an LLM that has access to one or more tools, and it has agency in terms of using those tools, and sometimes using a combination of those tools in order to sort of deliver or execute the request that was made of it, right? So at least for Langflow, that is sort of our internal definition of an agent. So then in this case, cool. So now, of course, we're going to switch over to Tavily search API. So this is the search. This is the component that gives developers access to Tavily search. And I definitely will want you to like dive into all of the different sort of products in the Tavily suite. So search is one of them. There are others. I'm sure you'll go through those. But in this case, it's exposing itself as a tool for the agent to use. You've wired it up to your Tavily API key. There's a bunch of configurable stuff about search depth. So right now we're using basic, but like it's basically it's a knob that you can sort of dial up and down. Cool, awesome.
Yeah. Like you said, Carter, I would say that there's this whole like discussion: what is an agent, what is not an agent, and I heard this talk like not long ago from Andrew NG, and he just said, let's call it agentic applications, and everyone will be in place. So, like you said, everyone has their definitions. Going into like the controls a bit. So, like you said, the search API, Tavily search API, has two search depth, basic or advanced. And advanced gives you better results when you need specific information. And I can delve into that a bit, how we actually do that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please.
So we take the URLs from the web, and we actually get the raw content from those URLs and give you the best relevant chunks from those URLs, the raw content. So what is a chunk? A chunk is just a piece of information from that document. The document is the raw content. And when you use advanced, it just gives you the best chunks from those URLs. Yeah, and we can take a look at the controls here. We have a lot of configurable options. Like we said, the search depth, which is very important. And I want to delve in to another one, which is include domains, that I'm not sure that everyone knows about. But I think the best way to showcase include domains is by an example. So if I ask, tell me about cool AI companies. And I will get now results from the whole web itself. And,
right, because you didn't set anything, you didn't confine anything by that parameter. You left it empty, right?
Yeah, so I didn't set anything.
Okay.
But once I set up, let's say I want specific information only from Y Combinator, let's say.
Right. So, yeah. Sure. Hacker News. Right. Yeah.
Oh, I like that one. That's a good one, actually.
Okay, so let's configure a bit. Combinator.
Oh, I think you forgot the B.
Yeah, I forgot the B.
.com.
Okay, now we got it. And when I ask the same exact questions, tell me about cool AI companies. I will get information only from the specified domain, which I think is cool. And like you have a lot of use cases which can be very, very cool. So you see, we get a much different answer, and you know the grounded.
Oh, look at that.
Only from Y Combinator.
So David, so the links I'm seeing at the bottom of the response are specific now to Y Combinator, right? As compared to being just like whatever the top results were from the web kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think like these are two pretty important parameters that we can configure. And what do you say, guys? You want to go into a couple more, or
I'd say yeah.
I mean, we've got plenty of time. I mean,
and before we do that, I want to dig in a little bit more to some of the differences between the basic and advanced, because one thing I'm super curious about, right, is there a duration or a latency difference? And what I mean by that is, with at least in my personal experience with agentic flows, depending on what you're doing, the amount of time it can take those agents with whatever tools they have to complete your request can vary significantly. And one of the things that I've seen a lot from folks that I've spoken to, other developers and my own stuff and everything, is that sometimes, given that all this AI stuff, right, none of it's deterministic, right? It's really hard to say oh, this is going to take exactly 5, seconds or a second to return. So is there a difference between the amount of time, if advanced has, say, more depth to it or something, does it take longer? Is that part of the, the pro and con that you're waiting with it, kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. And the latency is an issue that we always tackle at Tavily. We never want to be the slowest part of an agent, the component.
Right.
Yeah. So it's one of our topest priorities. But like you said, it's always a balance between latency and quality. And we have this balance in every software application.
Yes.
So like you said here, when you specify search depth advanced, the latency is a bit higher. It takes another second or two, but the response that you get is grounded better based on the chunks that we talked about.
Got it. Okay. And I actually have a burning, I'm going to totally put you on the spot, and I'm not trying to, but I'm going to, because this is a burning question I actually have. Is what is the difference? If somebody listening to this, right, they're like, okay, you've got this Tavily AI search. How is this different from a Google search?
Yeah, that's a question that we get, every time.
Okay. So I'm glad to know that I just went right in there on the same one.
Yeah, it's a question that we're used to. But the main thing here that Google search is not optimized for agents. Okay, we go through all of the web, we go through all of the content itself, and process it for you, and we get you the best results from multiple sources, not just Google. So we have this extra couple of things that we do that make the results a different level. So I would say, in a sentence, that's the main thing, the quality of the response, and that it's optimized for AI agents. But I think we'll have time to delve into some more fun stuff, like we said, David.
Yeah, no, like take it away. I think
Yeah.
I mean we've definitely got a great idea about search.
Mhm.
But yeah, we can kind of keep the demo moving.
Yeah, okay, great. So let's take a look at another control here. So let's say that we want a search topic which is has the specific time range. So this is another
Mm,
option that
Oh, okay.
you can specify. Let's say you want stock from the last month or something like that. So you can
mhm,
specify the time range, and we will only give you the results from that time range. So that's one thing that you can specify. Another thing is the max results. We see a lot of users
mm,
opting for more results and then processing them on in their site. So we support 20 up to 20 max results. So that's also a pretty cool one. And we have the search topic. So we have general and news, and that
mm,
is also specified based on the search query. And something to keep in mind, like when we are designing our systems, we take for granted that agents will use it, not necessarily
Mm,
people. So,
right.
so
okay.
agents will specify the configuration of the request. So, yeah, we always take that in mind to give the best results.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Okay. We can do another demo with crawl. David, what do you say? Or we want to delve in a bit more here?
Well, no, some of the questions that I have definitely are, kind of digging in a little bit deeper to some of those options that you have, right? But search isn't the only thing, right?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should get people some broad exposure
yeah,
because
Mhm.
once again, like the this podcast is like not to be mistaken for a workshop or a tutorial. It's more like introducing people to like really cool tools that they didn't know about or they haven't used, and of course like getting a little bit of a hello world experience, so it's not
yeah,
just like go to our website and trust us that it works.
yeah.
But I know that there's, I think like we should definitely get into crawl and some of the other fun things.
Yeah, cool. Okay, amazing. So I'll share my screen again and talk a bit about crawl, another endpoint and the product that we use.
Mhm.
And crawl, in a sentence, is an agent where you specify the starting URL and you can specify instructions for the crawl itself. It has this starting URL and it models the
Mhm.
sitemap as a graph, and then it
Mm.
traverses that site to get you the only the results you want. So this is a cool demo app that we built to show how we can use crawl to take a website and turn it into a RAG application. And yeah, we can delve a bit into how we made this RAG application, but I'll share from my experience today. I was playing around with Langflow and I was in the docs and I said, why don't I crawl the docs? And I have my personal RAG assistant based on Langflow docs. So that's what I did. And that's what we'll do here and show you what we can do with it. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so for the people watching at home, this is cool. So Ayal has entered the URL to the Langflow docs into a web application that he
Oh, cool.
built.
Okay.
But this is just like a little kind of, it's sort of like a web front end for the
Mhm.
API that he's showing off.
Mhm.
So now we're getting a little bit of a UI experience where it's like it's telling us that it's crawling the Langflow docs, and I will tell us later, like, oh,
Mhm.
it stuff's being indexed and
Is it gonna
vectorized, or
judge
who
them?
knows.
No,
Yeah,
judge
and
each
then
page.
yeah, awesome, and then yeah, I think I don't know, that took what, a minute or less or something.
Yeah.
And I think and now we have, we got what, 323 pages with a crawl time of 4.86 seconds.
Mhm.
And now we have this like cool chat experience where we can, I guess, chat with our docs.
Yeah, that's totally the application. So, like you said, we first crawled the website and we got back 323 pages, and then we indexed them. And what does
Yeah.
indexing mean? So, we
Yeah.
talked a bit about chunking before, but we take each web page and we chunk it into several chunks, and then vectorize it with an embedding model, and store it in a vector database which we can query. So I might have gone into like I skipped some parts, but that's like the main idea. And now that we have this application, we can chat with Langflow docs. So
And before we do that though, like I guess the crawl time is really impressively low. So should I assume that like the system on the back end has already crawled and cached like lots and lots of pages? And then if the freshness of of certain pages is good enough, like it'll sort of use what it's already crawled and indexed.
Yeah, so one of the key things that we optimize for, like David talked about before, is latency. So to get a full scalable system to be very fast and very good, we have to have a very smart caching system. So like we said, we use graph databases, and we use some other database to cache data, so we can give you the best response in a short time. And like you said, freshness is something that we take into account, and we update the pages almost daily. So that's like the main concern, and that a lot of people have. And it's also configurable. You can talk to us, and we'll re-crawl a page and give you the best response possible. But
no, that's awesome. And like, hopefully at some point we'll get to maybe just take a peek at like the docs, or just like sort of understand a little bit. Like, obviously this is a cool web UI, but it'd be cool to understand like how it works behind the scenes and what knobs and dials a developer has. Yeah, exactly, right. Like, is there a way for a developer to to indicate like, hey, like I want you to actually crawl this website like right now, like I want like super fresh results?
Yeah, that's possible as well. You can talk to us for that, those small knobs. We offer it for our enterprise users, but
that's right. Nice.
Yeah, so we have the system that takes care of the freshness of the pages. But if we're already in the docs, I think a really cool parameter that I'll be happy to delve into is the instructions.
Yeah,
which is something that is like the killer point of crawl. So you can specify natural language instructions for the crawler, and it will crawl you the best results only based on the instructions themselves. So we have this, I think we have this example here on the side where we called our sites with the Python SDK instructions. And like you see, we only got the Python SDK here. So that's
I see. Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. So it's the instructions, I guess, kind of function as like a like a query, a search query or a filter or something.
Yeah, that's totally the point. And like when you crawl a website, you usually agents and also users usually know what they're looking for in that website. So these instructions, are configurable for your purposes. And we see this, as one of the best things in crawl.
And what's the we should go back to the demo, but I am curious, like what for the API, like what's the result object? Like what's the payload that the developer gets back after they is it just it's these list of URLs? And the raw content. Gotcha. Okay, great.
Yeah,
so crawl gives you the URL, but it also gives you like the raw content from the page. But like it's not super raw, right? It's not like actual HTML. It looks like it's kind of markdown or something.
Yeah, we can actually go to the API playground real quick and show it off in a better UI. So let's just try an example here and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's do something with the Langflow docs.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so I'm specifying here the starting URL, and let's say we want tell me. I want to get deployment information. So oh, that's my API key. Wait, here we go. Now this will work. Okay, So once we do this, like we said, we get the concepts of the starting
Nice.
URL, and we have here the documentation about deployments. So yeah, we said this is a really fun endpoint to play around with. But going back to our to the demo, like we said, once we have this web page that we crawl, which is the Langflow docs, we can start asking questions about, let's say, tell me about concepts in Langflow. And feel free to ask questions, guys, and we can talk about what's happening behind the hood.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. How about how do I deploy an MCP server?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Deployment. Okay. So once we do deployment in Langflow, we also see the sources that it's cited from the RAG application. So this is the vector search and the chunks, and we have all of these. And here we have deploying a Langflow application. This is like an LLM that's streaming back its results. So we have a Docker, a flow, a Docker file, a README about the Docker file. So this is a really, really great response that you can just chat with the docs themselves.
Now, something I'm actually curious about, I don't know if you all answered this earlier, but where, like, as a user, if I'm using Tavily and I'm using this crawl capability and I ask it right now, like you're doing in this demo, I want you to crawl docs.langflow.org and I want you to do something with this. And this is being indexed, right? Then let's say I come back later in a session or something, is that index, is that being stored somewhere in Tavily, or like how, like as a user, if I want to keep coming back to this and I want to keep using it, right? Am I recrawling it every time, or is it holding on to that information? Like, what's it doing there?
So like this application is a demo for that users can, like, it's an open source that users can clone and just run locally. And once they do that, they have it indexed on the computers and servers. But yeah, the crawl time, like we said, will be much faster because we store a pre-processed stage of the website and all of the site graph. So I would say to your question, David, like the user will need to take this and store the index, the vector DB, and all of that on their site.
Got you. Oh, so that's actually kind of great because that means that you have control over the information.
Exactly.
Right, is what I'm hearing. So Tavily might be doing the initial pull, but then as a user, you control that.
Well, yeah, I mean, as a developer, right? I mean, like the way that this app was built, Eyal had to sort of seed it with a URL,
right,
to do the initial crawl, and then now after the crawl happens, this chat experience that we're in, I'm assuming, is almost exclusively powered off of vector search against the vector database and like all that stuff, right? And that's just how. But he's the developer, right? That's how he built it. He could also build like a little refresh button in the top right that, like, if the end user clicks it, it'll recrawl that domain, using Tavily again. I mean, so that's just sort of, it seems like the developer has control over, like at the end of the day, like crawl is, I mean, it sounds amazing, but like it's pretty much just giving you like a list of URLs, the markdown content at those URLs, and then like what you do with that information is sort of up to you on your end.
Yeah, totally. Like crawl is a tool to be used by agents to roam around the web and get specific information from different sites.
Okay.
And we already seeing great usage from some users that do really amazing and cool things with it.
Now, I've got a question then. So help me understand, what is the difference between crawl and extract?
Okay, so that's a good question, David. Extract is an endpoint that you can just specify one URL or a list of URLs, up to 20 URLs, and you'll just get the raw content from them. Meaning we'll take care of all the fun stuff in the backend, roaming the web, rotating proxies, getting by everything needed, and getting you back the best results possible.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's like the different use case between crawl and extract. So
I'm assuming that Tavily has like a sort of a tier, like an initial tier for developers. Can you talk a little bit about like what developers like need to do to sort of use Tavily?
Yeah, you can just log in and sign up, and you get 1,000 free credits per month. And you can just play around, try to build cool
Yeah.
agents. Like we want users to try out our product, to give us feedback, and then once they want to get into some more usage, they can pop up to some other tier plans.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What's
we
some
have.
what like go ahead.
No, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, like what are some of the like coolest things that you've seen
Mhm.
built?
Yeah, actually, I've seen crazy things that I've never thought that I will see people doing in Tavily. Like it's always shocks me, like what we thought that that we're building and what people are doing it in the end. So there's
Yeah.
like more trivial stuff. Let's say building a
Hmm.
chatbot that roam the web. But we have some cool applications. We have a big credit card company looking for fraud in the web.
Mm. Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, we have some cool stories with marine type deployments that look for ships in the ocean and using us. So
Oh,
that's
cool.
another use case. Um, but yeah, we see different applications, from the regular trivial stuff into really shocking things that we never thought people will do.
Yeah, I used to work at a company called Twilio,
Mm.
um, uh, back in the day. And at Twilio, we were really into the idea of the things that we were building being like Legos and being just sort of like these like useful primitives for developers. And we had like a lot of we had strong feelings about the idea that like that we should trust developers to be like really creative and
Mm.
to surprise us in what they would use Twilio for. For people who aren't familiar with it, Twilio is I mean Twilio does a lot of stuff these days, but back then it was pretty much a developer platform for sending and receiving text messages and making and receiving phone calls.
Right,
And
right.
you would think like, okay, that's cool. I don't know, I guess I could use Twilio to make like like just sort of, make a 1-800 number, to provide automated, whatever. You can sort of imagine like the really obvious use cases for something like that. But then I worked there for over 5 years and I was just constantly blown away by how people would surprise us with like
Mm.
what they would end up building. I remember when developers started using, I know this is kind of frowned upon today, but back then, developers surprised us by using SMS for two-factor authentication. And
Mm.
I
Ah,
promise you, like I worked at Twilio, like nobody at Twilio like was building our SMS APIs with the intention for it to power two-factor authentication. It was just some developer at some point was just like realized like, hey, like this is like a really useful tool for giving people an alternative to like YubiKeys and stuff like that. So it's always fun to
Mhm.
see how developers like surprise you with what they use your platform for. Um,
and I
we're
feel like they
ga-
always find ways to use it in ways you definitely did not intend, and then you're
oh,
like,
sure,
"Oh, oh, I didn't see that coming." You know?
yeah, that's
We
okay, but that's why you have a. Oh, go
use
ahead.
Twilio as well as a service for our NOC services. Like for when something is off in the system, it calls us. So we love using Twilio, like you said, and developers use it for all kinds of things. Like once you have a creative mind and a good tool, the sky's the limit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that kind of I think that companies and just I've spent some time looking at your endpoints and your APIs. Like if you're when you're building developer tools and when you're building these platforms, like if you can be really thoughtful in how you design your APIs. And make sure that you don't accidentally like lock them down to like to use cases, because that's a mistake that like a lot of developer tool companies make, right? It's like
Yeah.
you have an API, you really only expect it to be used in like 3 or 4 different ways, and then almost subconsciously you design your APIs and your SDKs to like enable those 3 to 4 use cases, but then you're accidentally like locking down things outside of those use cases. So it kind of requires a lot of thoughtfulness and discipline to be like, hey, look, like we're gonna design a primitive, like, you know, crawl or extract or search. We're gonna try to be thoughtful about giving developers like maximal like flexibility to do things, you know, even things that we might not entirely expect, because they'll surprise us, you know, and they'll just they'll use it to find boats in the ocean, or like, you know, all this stuff that I know that you guys are thinking about when you founded the company.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Carter. Like, we are developers that are building developer tools. So, you know, we have the developers in mind, and this is our audience, and we love them. They love us. It's a good community, and we're very excited to be a part of it. And like you said, like having these general tools that people can plug and play very easily and make great AI agents. That's the goal, and that's what we're doing.
What can you kind of share anything about maybe not necessarily like what's on your roadmap or something, but like what are you all looking at? Like, or what are you hearing from developers? Like, you know, what are people asking for, or like what's on your mind in terms of, you know, continuing to improve the platform?
Yeah, so we have several things in the roadmap, and like we see some general things like coming back from our customers. So we have like a couple of types of customers. Let's say we have some customers that just want like a very primitive endpoint, just do all the work for us and give us good results. So that's one kind of customers that we see. Another kind is the ones that, you know, we go hand to hand from idea to deployment, and really, you know, fine tune their agents, how they evaluate their agents, how they deploy them, how they're monitoring them. So this is like a new field, and like we have these old software engineering concepts that are now needing to be you know, adapted to agents. So that's what we see a lot. So we see this going on a lot. And about a roadmap, like I said, like we see things going forward that will have a endpoint that will be very general, like give us a task that involves roaming the web and we'll take care of you. But we'll also keep, you know, the other endpoints that power this agent. Of course, we'll optimize to get the best results in each one of them. But I would say that's something going forward.
Yeah. Do you ever hear? This is kind of goes back to the conversation that we had earlier about like what are agents, right? Do you ever hear like from developers or you know, customers, a desire to have Tavily be able to do things on the internet instead of crawl and read things? I think that's like a thing that some people that are dismissive of agents, like they don't feel like things are actually agents unless they can do things, like they can, you know, like you've heard all the same examples, right? You know, book my reservation at a restaurant or something like that. I'm not that much of a maximalist about what agents are, but it definitely seemed pretty clear that the web is like read write, and right now we've got lots of tools on the read side of things, but I think it's still in the early days on the write side of things. Just kind of curious if you hear any of that.
Yeah, we hear things like that, and you know, there's some emerging tools that we see going on in this field. One example is browser use that really blew up a couple of months back. And now MCPs are enabling agents to talk to different applications and like to also write, like you said, not only read. We do see this in our roadmap of like giving like authentication details to our agents and making some actions on your behalf. We really do see this in our roadmap in the future.
Does Tavily support MCP?
Yeah, Tavily has an MCP.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And we
David, who doesn't have to have an MCP
I mean,
server these
no,
days?
true, very true today.
You get like kicked
very
out
true.
of the club if you don't have an MCP server.
but I didn't want to just assume, right? So I'm glad that we get a nice solid answer on that one.
Just teasing. Too funny.
In the AI space, you know, you have to. Actually, we had an MCP before the boom. I have to say, like Anthropic, you know, introduced the MCP like already 6-7 months back, and we were like early adopters. But you know, the MCP boom is I would say like it's the power of the open source community to, you know, to power the ecosystem.
Yeah, that's so true. Now, something I eyed on your screen, by the way, Eyal, and I'm very curious about, and we haven't talked about it, is I saw Tavily Maps beta. What is that?
Okay, so we can go into that a second, and I'll share my screen again.
I'm super because I saw that, and I was super curious about that one.
So Tavily Map is obtaining a sitemap from a starting base URL. So when we look at our endpoint, so crawl is a combination of map and extract. We first map out the sitemap and then extract. So this is also configurable to just get the URLs themselves, and we see this example here. Okay. So when we get docs.tavily.com with the same Python SDK instructions, we get these results without the raw content. And like we said earlier, this gives the developers the opportunity to you know have control on what's going on, and we can crawl map. We can do both of these things.
I hear you. So like, sorry, like I as a developer, like I would use this to build sitemaps. Okay, cool. David, did you think this was like Google Maps or something?
I wasn't sure, actually. Yeah. So now I get it. So, but it sounds like you're also dogfooding your own APIs, right? I think I just heard that crawl uses Tavily Map in order to build out what it does. That's super cool. Awesome.
Yeah, we're building, you know, there's the infrastructure, and we're building on top of all of our systems to get the best results for the users and the best, like, different capabilities, and, you know, tailored for each developer.
Yeah, well, I don't know about you, but I know when you're ingesting your own APIs and you're doing it as a developer, it gives you a lot of insight into your own APIs and whether or not they're actually good or not. So it's good to hear that you guys are dog food and stuff.
For sure. You know, we test our things daily, and we use our things daily. You know, I have the Tavily MCP on all of my machines and all of my IDEs. So yeah, we use everything, and like the idea is, if we don't use our product and love it, like we can't expect anyone else.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot again, right?
Okay.
Do you prefer the regular Tavily APIs or the MCP pathway? Or it doesn't have to be one or the other. Yeah. What do you think?
On the model, you know, it depends on the model invoking. So I have to say, when I use Claude, Anthropic's Claude, I have a really good experience with the MCP. Other models, you know, some do better, some do worse. But yeah, when I'm coding, that's my go-to.
Well, but also, like, I don't know if you've ever heard this. Have you ever heard the expression, like, the best camera is the one that you have on you? Have you ever heard that? So this camera is not as good. I have a much better DSLR camera, right? But the problem is, when I'm out with my family on a hike, if I don't have the better camera with me, this is the best camera because it's the one I have on me. I feel like it's the same way with MCP, right? I mean, like, look, if I'm using Claude, and I want it to sort of tap into the power of Tavily, well, MCP is what I have, right? Like I'm too lazy to tell Claude about like all the endpoints and like all the that's the whole point of MCP, right? I can just sort of plug Tavily like into my Claude. So, but then if in another context, you know, where I don't know, I'm building my Python app or something, and there's no LLMs, right? I'm just like writing code. Well, then I'll use the APIs. You know, I'm just gonna pip install Tavily, and like it's all documented and it's all right there. You know, so.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah, I can really relate to that.
So well, I think we should start to wrap things up, David.
Yeah.
Do we want to, Eyal, like, we should make sure that people watching and listening like know where to go to learn more about Tavily.
Yeah, head on to tavily.com, sign up for your free credits, and try us out, and build something cool with us. Let us know, and yeah, that's the way. And we love seeing new agents and applications being built with us, and the creativity of people.
Do you all have like a Discord channel or a Slack channel? Like, how do people kind of engage with you?
We have a community blog on our website, and
Nice.
people can, it's like a forum when you can ask questions, get some insights from different users. So yeah, that's the way to go with the community.
Are you gonna publish your demo?
I will. We will
Okay.
publish a demo in the near future, and yeah, it's going to be very exciting.
Awesome.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
I know David is shocked that like how fast time has gone by, right? I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, how has it been an hour, right? I feel like we just kind of sat down and started talking about it. But this was just a fantastic conversation. Thanks for being like the first guest, the guinea pig on in the sort of inaugural episode of the Flow. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on in your life and in your community right now. So it really means a lot to me and David that you kind of took some time out to hang out with us. And I hope you had a good time.
Thank you. I had a great time, and thank you for hosting me. And yeah, to a lot more episodes.
Awesome.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you everybody for listening to The Flow. We'll see y'all